everybody, and welcome to the live stream. So this evening I'm joined by two of my friends and colleagues, Lisa and Michael, and we're going to be talking about video content, why we create it, how we create it, some of our horror stories, some of our success stories as well. So please do make this interactive, because I hope it's not just the three of us talking. So we'll be looking forward to receiving your comments and questions in the live chat. First of all, let's do a round the table and introduce each other. Lisa, do you want to introduce yourself first to everybody?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Lisa Clark, and I work at Dell Technologies on the Global Engineering Outreach Specialist team. We'll shorten that to GEOs, focused on Azure Stack, so all the Microsoft Hybrid Cloud portfolio. I recently became a Microsoft MVP, so in March this year. That was pretty awesome. And I also host my own podcast called Lisa at the Edge. So that's me.
Awesome. Michael, do you want to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hey everyone. So I'm Michael Cade. I'm a senior technologist. I think it's senior. I don't know if that's because I'm old now, but or a little bit older. I'm a senior technologist over at Veeam. So I've been at Veeam for 6 and a bit years now. So focusing around data management, but I've been around the virtualization storage space for a while. For a lot of them, 6 years and more. But just recently, I've just moved over to Kasten. So back in October, we acquired a company that focuses on data management for Kubernetes and cloud native. So I've just moved over there to really focus on their technical content, their technical community, and everything else that sits within that like wheelhouse around product strategy and all that good stuff. So yeah, super excited to be on that, but also to be with you guys as well, talking about this.
I hadn't realised you'd slightly changed job, Michael, so congratulations on that and good luck with the new venture. We were supposed to be joined by a fourth guest tonight, Liam. Unfortunately, he has had an internet outage and can't join us. So yeah, hopefully we'll get Liam on one of these live streams at some point. But as I said, I wanted to talk about video content creation and just share some of the stories that we have all had. And I think in some form or other, we've all been creating video content probably for a while now, at least a year. I think we all maybe upped our game when the pandemic started. But I know I started creating videos just because I could, because I was stationary. I wasn't traveling, I wasn't in an airport and stuff like that. Lisa, you, I think, started mostly your videos after your blog writing or something. Can you tell us that story, Lisa? Because I can't remember all of the journey you've had, but I know it's interesting.
It's been a journey. So yes, last year in January. So I had been in and out of the tech community on socials like Twitter and then events, etc. over my I don't know, I think I've been in the IT industry now 10 years. You wouldn't believe it. But I'd been in and out, and I'd always really enjoyed it. But for various reasons to do with like roles or my focus areas, I was never consistent, which actually is a problem that we might come on to later for me. Yeah, so in January, I'd been at Dell for a couple of months in my new role, focused on Azure Stack. I was like, this is the time to get it to the community. I want to try and start creating content. So I decided that in January. Came up with a new Twitter handle, Lisa at the Edge, and decided that I would have a go at a few different like mediums, so like blogging, video, maybe podcasting. And that never, for many excuses, never happened. And then we went into lockdown, and I was like, okay, if I don't start now, when will I start? And I basically just threw myself into it. If I'm honest, I think I threw myself into that and work to give me something to do during lockdown. But basically, I decided that I would have a go at creating a podcast and blogging. I quickly found that I preferred the podcast to blogging. There are various reasons, and I do want to change that around a little bit this year. So I think I did my first 10 episodes. In fact, my first 20 episodes were all just audio only. But from about episode 10, I started saying to people, I'd really like to put these on YouTube. I just needed to figure out how to do it. So I started sort of prepping people to say, look, this video might go on YouTube, so let's not be in our pajamas kind of thing. And let's, wash our hair and look a bit more presentable. So, and then that's when basically I decided to start putting my podcast both on YouTube and as audio format, because I think people like to consume their content in different ways, and people like to watch videos and some people just like to listen. Had a lot of people who just enjoyed listening to my podcast. They're quite lengthy. They're all about an hour, but they would go out on a walk, etc., and listen to them. So I thought that would be a good idea. And it also was going to be my start into creating video. So that's basically how and why I started publishing my podcast to YouTube. I've yet to do sort of my own kind of content, and that's definitely on the to-do list, and we can come on to like why I've not done that so far. But yeah, I've just done put my podcast episodes up, and I got the team that I work with to do an Azure Stack 12 Days of Christmas series last Christmas. So that was really nice, and a cool thing to do. And I just kind of enjoy learning about this whole area and finding out what I can do.
Awesome, because your video content is kind of interview style, much like this, where you're talking to a guest, whereas I think Michael and I have kind of explored various different things. I know, Michael, you streamed, was it building your desk or building your PC up at some point, and then you've done lots of technical videos as well. Could you share us your journey about why you've started doing videos? Because I've been following your blog for years now, I think, and yeah, you kind of recently delved into the video more, strategically, I think is maybe the right way to say it. Is that right to say?
Yeah, for sure. So I very much started on that blogging journey, all virtualization, storage, coming from that background. It was always around like a bit of a journal for me, is that if I learn something, if I find something interesting, let's jot it down, let's write it up. And I look back at some of those blogs like recently, and they are terrible. They would not help anybody. But the important thing is that if they helped me at the time or helped one other person, that's the whole reason why I believe all of us would create content, whatever form that would be, right? Just helping someone, helping yourself, helping someone. So it's very much starting that journey and writing up those experiences and viewpoints on certain areas, and then fast forward to 2020, the year that everyone wants to forget, maybe the year that or 2021, the year that everyone wants to forget as well, depending on how quick we get through things in the UK at least. But at the very beginning, it was like, okay, I'm going to be stuck at home for what we thought was potentially weeks, months maybe. It was never going to be a 12-month situation. And after that first month, it was right, I need to go and refresh my tech. And I was already going to do this. I need to go and buy new computers, a new computer. I shouldn't use the word plural, though when we start streaming, that changes up a bit. But all of that new gear, and I thought, the first thing that I started watching to kind of take me out of work was a load of desk setup videos and like show what's in your tech bag was like the first thing, which, well, that doesn't matter because I don't even know where my tech bag is right now because I don't use it. And then it was desk setups, and there's a few influencers out there that I got kind of a little bit addicted with, to be honest. And I was like, that looks like a great idea. We could definitely use that. But then we had to bring it back to some work and actual content that was useful for me. And that was when we started diving into Veeam scenarios and really honing in on some of those conversations that you'd have, and you were showing someone on a demo, like a Zoom call. Well, instead of just showing you on a Zoom call, how about I just do something, walk through it and publish that to YouTube? And that's really been the premise behind that. And I did have a bit of a break, probably to begin with, from 2021 because I was shifting over to this new role, but I've just started cranking out those Kubernetes focused videos as well. So as I'm learning, I want to help everyone else learn.
I know for me, I kind of started my videos because I knew I was coming into the role that I'm currently in. So as a cloud advocate at Microsoft, and it was going to be much more public speaking. There was going to be much more video content. I thought it was going to be in a studio and I would be standing in front of people watching me and stuff like that. So I started really looking at the YouTube stuff think it was August 2019, I think it was. And I started with the weekly videos where I'm standing or sitting in my kitchen talking to this camera. And if you watch back them, it's horrendous because I'm not actually looking at the camera. I'm all way over here. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm not even looking at the camera. And it's so disengaging just for me. Thankfully, I've learned to look at the camera and the videos have slightly got better. And then I found once we got into lockdown, I wanted to do something different and I wanted to kind of scale it up. And then I started doing much like yourself, Michael, sharing the kind of tutorials and trying to scale that, because it's great doing it in a customer meeting, you know, but if you have like 5 or 6 customers asking you the exact same question, without sounding rude, it's a lot of time that you're currently given to individual customers. And if 5 customers are asking you for a question, or 5 people on Twitter are asking you a question, you can almost guarantee that that number's almost doubled or tripled or quadrupled in some cases. And I can't scale. Like, there's no way I can get round that many number of people. Whereas if I put it on YouTube, then I can actually, you know, hopefully help people again and do that. So that's been my journey. Yeah, I've only delved into YouTube. I know there's obviously, and this is kind of why I wanted Liam on the show, because I know he's been using a lot of Twitch stuff for his things. Have either of you used Twitch or any other platforms? Yeah, I know there's weird things you can do, like you can stream to Twitter and stuff like that, but I've never really done that. Have either of you done any of that?
So with StreamYard on the Cloud Lunch and Learn weekly sessions, we will stream to our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Twitter through StreamYard. So I've done that. I have had a look at Twitch. I actually think I maybe set up an account. The only things I've really used Twitch for is, and I've not got right into it because almost I'm holding myself back because I think if I get too into it, like I'll become obsessed. But I've watched people game and stuff, and I've had people say to me, oh, Lisa, you should stream on Twitch. I'm like, stream what? And they're like, just stream. People just love to watch people stream and all kinds of stuff. And so I have thought about it. And I actually went to watch my friend stream. He was in one of his friend's channels, and there was all crazy stuff going on. Like, you could sub people and you could win badges and you could become, it was like, I honestly felt like my gran must feel trying to understand Twitter. Like, I was like, oh my God, I actually feel old. I was like, I don't get what's going on here. I need someone to give me a Twitch 101. So if Michael can do that, I'd be keen to listen. Listen and learn.
So I've been on that side of like consuming, and I honestly had a thing where I wanted to like set up something that wherever I was jumping in, and this sounds really boring now that I'm going to explain it, but you've got, like you say, Lisa, you've got to have something to stream. Like, no one wants to see me answering emails on a Monday morning. And probably you can't even share half of that stuff. But so I had an idea of, so I look after our lab, or my instance of my lab, and obviously I have to have a backup. If I was to lose any of our data, that would be a very bad thing as a technologist that looks after from a backup vendor point of view. But obviously we have a backup job, we have things happening every night on a schedule. And every so often you jump into your lab and you do something with it. And I thought, oh, maybe we make an hourly lab stream that we jump in. And then I thought, you start looking around Twitch and there's so much bespoke stuff that would fit. Like, we could absolutely do it. But I find out, like, if you have, is it worth, and this is probably a good question for the wider audience, as to some of the videos that we've all put up will have minimal views. And then you think, was it worth it? And it was probably the video that took you the most effort. And you think, oh, this is definitely going to hit the ground running. Everyone wants to see, I think everyone wants to see it. And I just think that with Twitch is that it's there and then it's gone. Like, it lasts for a couple of days. It's not a long-term thing like it is with YouTube, where you can go live like this and then this will be there for forevermore. And that kind of then just put me off having to do that. I started doing something similar with YouTube Live though, and doing it on there, and things like 2 Minute Tuesday, just playing around with different live things. But yeah, moving to the job, that changed that. But I think, yeah, I just don't think surely people don't want to watch me playing around with Veeam for an hour or more. Like, I know people sit on there and stream for hours. So yeah, maybe there is a market for it.
Yeah, see, for me, Twitch isn't something I consume, to be honest. So there's never been an incentive or a motivation to join that community. I know lots of people obviously do, but unless I'm going to invest in it, I don't see the point. I invest in my YouTube. I've created banners. I look at the thumbnails. I've learned how the algorithms work, or tried to learn how the algorithms work, to try and make sure that I'm optimizing what I'm doing, not just from a selfish point of view, but I also want it to be discoverable. And if I'm not doing the right things, then there's no point me doing the videos, because it's going to live in a black hole. It might as well just live on my hard drive here at home, if that's what's going to happen, if I'm not going to learn how to use the platform. So occasionally I do stream on like Facebook and Twitter. I think I have actually set up a destination here in StreamYard, but like tonight, I actually forgot to do that. I've just scheduled a YouTube one, so it's going to go on YouTube. It's not going on the other platforms. But I think you and I, Lisa, use StreamYard because I think we're talking about the tools that we're using to either record our videos or do the live stream. I record sometimes on StreamYard, but mostly I use like my phone and stuff. The live videos are definitely StreamYard because it makes it so much easier, especially if you're streaming to other platforms. But Michael, you use something else, don't you? Do you use Restream or something? Or
so I have. This has definitely been an exploration journey of finding something that actually works. So I've used Restream to do it. I have used StreamYard as well. But actually, I think the more continuous live streams that I got into doing, because the consistency is real, is Streamlabs OBS. So very much like OBS, but that if anyone out there that is starting this and they see OBS, and the first time I opened that, I was like, wow, this is confusing. This will put anyone off straight away. And we definitely don't want that, right? Like, we want everyone to go out and create this new set of content that we can consume quick and easy. Whereas Streamlabs OBS is OBS under the covers, but there's an element of ease in there. Like, you can bring your own themes, you can download free themes. So when you couple that with your Stream Deck, like, you can start to move stuff around, just a little bit more welcoming rather than this wall of interface that we see when we open OBS. So I just go straight from there to YouTube, and that sorts everything from a chat perspective. But yeah, that's what I'm using at the moment.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I originally started to use OBS and then got completely confused trying to get all the audio channels set up, how to get the quality set up, how to bring in other things. I think I've used it twice to try and do it. One time the live stream completely failed and I ended up having to kill my laptop, like restart it and then restart everything again to go back into my live stream, which was massively stressful, massively embarrassing. So hence I use StreamYard now. But like you mentioned, the Stream Deck that what some of us have, which is a configurable button thing. Let me see if I can pull. It's not going to stretch. My cable's not going to stretch. But it's like a little keyboard for anybody that's not aware of what it is, and you can program it to do some things. So I've got it doing stuff with Microsoft Teams, for example, and shortcuts and stuff. But I miss that because there's no integration with StreamYard, because StreamYard's a browser-based thing, so there's no shortcuts that I can interact with and have the scene changing kind of things. So that's the thing I do miss. So maybe Streamlabs.
Because I was going to get a Stream Deck, but that's a good point that it won't work with StreamYard. I remember being part of an event and they were going to use OBS. We had a test run the night before and no one could get it to work. And from that experience and seeing what was happening on the screen, I was just like, well, it was those kind of experiences actually that made me think like it would be far too difficult for me. I mean, to be brutally honest, all I've used so far is like StreamYard or Zoom to record. And then I tried initially to then use a free tool called DaVinci Resolve that my editor, Chris at Ratworks, same as Techie Lass over there, he created me some really cool intro and outro videos, and he's like, I'll show you how to use DaVinci Resolve. It's dead easy. You could just put your video in the middle, layer up your plates, etc., which I had no idea about at the time, but actually is super simple. But then I tried to do that on my laptop, And because I'd picked a travel laptop when I started my job at Dell, because I thought I'd be traveling, which did not happen, it wasn't up to spec. So I could not render and edit my 60-minute videos. So I had to pass them to Chris to do. But now I've got my own machine, I'm starting to think about, well, what tools am I going to like dive into to use to create more and different types of video content, more like yourselves, although maybe not as technical. And I was looking at Stream Deck, etc., and things like that. But yeah, I never thought about that. It won't work with StreamYard.
I think, to be fair to StreamYard, they have said that it's something that they potentially want to look at integrating, but it's not there yet, and I haven't heard if there's like an ETA. So it's not something I would recommend you need to get streaming if you're going to use StreamYard. If you're going to do the other route, then I think that's where we're at. Actually, talking about the video editing, one of our viewers, Rashib, has been asking about that, whether to learn video editing or to outsource it. Now, Lisa, you've obviously said you outsource your editing. I don't outsource my editing. I use Adobe Premiere Pro to do that, which has been a kind of big learning curve, but also not a learning curve, because I come from the world where I learned Adobe Photoshop and I did Dreamweaver. So I'm probably aging myself here when I used to build websites in Dreamweaver. And I just love the Adobe suite, to be honest. I love it for photo editing. I love it for graphics and stuff like that. So the interface was dead friendly for me in terms of understanding where everything was. I have had to learn how to do some things, like how to do transitions, how to cut scenes and do audio, and all that kind of. There's so much. Like, you could probably do an hour on how I edit videos, to be honest. And I don't think it's probably the best way I do it, but I do it the way I learn. Michael, what do you do? How do you do your videos? Do you outsource or do you do it yourself, or what's the?
No, I wish I could. I wish I would outsource. I did for the front banner, the intro and the outro. I'm definitely not smart enough to get stuff like that done and then go and source the music and all of that good stuff. But so if I'm not streaming with Streamlabs OBS and linked with the Stream Deck, then I'm generally just going to capture using Camtasia. And this is probably the easiest route to market, in that you can use Streamlabs as well to record your screen. And generally a lot of mine are like screen demos. We're just looking at interfaces. We're moving around various different sites, servers, etc. And then you can capture through Camtasia, capture through Streamlabs, and then merge them together or take them in Camtasia. And that's where you can start putting your transitions in. But I find it very simple in comparison to like DaVinci Resolve. Tried that. Not a fan. I'm sure if you spent some time, and I did spend a lot of time like on these hour-long tutorials on YouTube, and yeah, I can get the file in there and I can start to do some things, but then it gets a little bit too much. It's like if I'm spending more time to edit the video than get the video out the door, I find that's not the best use of time. But yeah, Camtasia has been my go-to for very simple editing. You'll see some of mine are very, very rough around the edges.
I think when I do start to, now that I've got my machine that'll be capable, I don't know if I'm going to feel the same about DaVinci Resolve, because I remember starting to use it, and obviously it was a frustrating experience because my laptop was not spec, so it was too slow anyway. But I could sense that was maybe a step too far for me, and that maybe I will need to start with something like Camtasia, which loads of people have recommended, and just do something like that. Because I suppose it depends what you want to do, right, and what you want to achieve. So, for instance, I just wanted to publish and make my podcast available in a YouTube format, but I wanted to look decent on YouTube, so I got the intro and outro, etc. And the presenter plates. But I did when I started sort of this journey to try and create more content, I did want to learn a little bit about what's behind the scenes. And it's funny because I've been thinking about that myself. So whilst I do currently pay for each episode to be edited, I'm not going to lie, that's kind of nice, because I just basically focus on the guest and getting prepared and having a good conversation, and then I don't need to think about it. Now, the realities of that is I'm sure I can find something simple enough where I can do that myself, and I'm not forking out the money, especially since I've just bought a fancy new PC to do it all. You know what I mean? It's time to claw back that money. But I think that is, for my podcast, that's definitely what I'll look to do, is find the simplest way to just put my intro and my outro and layer up my plates. And I might need something like DaVinci Resolve for that. I'm not sure. But hopefully I'll get to the point where I can just swap in and out the video and the name tags, etc. But when it comes to creating my own shorter videos, etc., I'm not sure what I'm gonna do there.
I know, and Michael actually makes a good point about the screen capture, because Adobe doesn't have a screen capture program. So I actually do have Camtasia as well installed on my machine, and today I was screen capturing with Camtasia. And what I'll do, which is a really horrendous process and make it 10 times harder for myself, is I will export that from Camtasia into MP4 file, and then I'll import it into Premiere, and then I'll do all the editing and the transitions there, because I'm an idiot sometimes. But that's where I do it, because when I first started using Camtasia to do my editing, I couldn't find the things that I wanted. I didn't know how to do the fancy things that I'd seen other people create and I wanted to put into my videos, and I tried to find material that could help me. And there's not a lot of people creating content, or the content that they're creating on Camtasia about how to do transitions and do all these things doesn't exist, or it's really out of date. Whereas there's a whole host of people using Adobe, and Adobe kind of keep the same system every year through their interfaces. So 9 times out of 10, you know, depending on what, you know, the button will be the same place and it'll be called the same thing. Camtasia has slightly got better. I will give it its due, because it's recently updated. I think we're on now 2021 version. And a lot of the features that I now use for my editing in Premiere Pro are now in Camtasia. Because they didn't have a screen capture button. So often I would try and capture a frame within my video to do the thumbnail and try and make that process better. And what I was ended up doing in Camtasia, because it didn't have that feature, was actually like screen grabbing like snippet through Windows 10 to get that, then putting it into like Photoshop to create it. And then, you know, it was an horrendous process, whereas Premiere Pro had that button. So there's a whole host of things you have to think about. So yeah, I probably cheat and use 2 programs for different things. But yeah, I'm actually thinking I might need to stream that, because like you say, Michael, there's no point creating like a 20-minute video and then it takes you like 3 hours to edit it, and you spend so much time on it, and then you maybe get like 20 views because it's not as fantastic as you thought it was, or something's went wrong and it's just, you know, not met the algorithms.
How do you record the audio? So if you capture through Camtasia, do you do the audio at the same time, or do you do that afterwards?
Yeah, I can capture audio as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to say is that I think there's a tipping point though, Sarah, in that where I say about like if it takes you 20 minutes to capture the video, and that's the demo video. If you've got subscribers that are actually looking at your content, then yeah, it might take 20 minutes to capture that, but then you really might hone in on the delivery, the whole zoom in, zoom out, the whole transitions. But it needs to be a payoff for that, right? And do you do that before? Do you do it after? But I think the most important thing that I think is get something out of the door, get some sort of content. Like none of us are in the movie business. None of us are in like the editing space. That everything that we've done has been through trial and error, and we've made plenty of errors on that. I think the key part is, especially me, and I've got that story to tell later. But I think it's like we've mentioned a lot of different software. I think just hitting record and just starting to capture something that you're just talking through. Maybe it's just something that you've done today and you've learned that. And I think that's kind of just, and everyone can start a YouTube channel. Everyone can push their content there. And if that's something that you want to do, I think that's my biggest takeaway to that, is that like you've all got access to it. Then and you don't need to spend like OBS, as complicated as it is free, and it does allow you to. And there are loads of videos on OBS. And if all you want to do is capture your screen and maybe your face, I don't ever capture my face, but then you export that and then get it up into YouTube. like if that's all that you need to do, that should not cost you. You shouldn't need a very powerful machine to be able to do that either. I think it's just about visuals and how it and the message that you're sharing.
I totally agree with that. And that's why, like, so I thought about this kind of stuff for ages, but it all looked far too complicated for me. And it wasn't until I basically figured out that actually, so when I started my podcast, I figured out that it wasn't that difficult and I didn't need all these fancy, honestly, I was down rabbit holes reading blogs about audio equipment and soundproofing rooms, and me as a non-techie was just like, what? And then my friends introduced me to Anchor, and I was like, she's like, just record on Zoom and then pop it up. And I was like, what? And that's how I did like my first 20 episodes. And I still actually currently use Zoom. I did sign up to Yeticaster for their beta for video and audio. I think they'll charge for it. I've got an email. I've got 2 hours free to use on their beta. So I need to try that. But yeah, just find a way that makes it really easy, but get it out the door, because you can, if you have like any kind of like imposter syndrome or barriers to getting started anyway, you will find tons more of them when you're researching how to do something. But it's funny that I say that, because I've been meaning for ages to start doing either, like Sarah does a weekly or monthly update or something, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that until I've got my fancy machine and I can edit it myself and stuff. But actually, I mean, I could record on StreamYard like we've just spoken about and upload it to YouTube. So yeah. I'll just write that down on a weekend.
And I think people get carried away with that. Like they put barriers in place. Like I think I talked about this once before, that my weekly update video is filmed on my mobile phone. Now, I think most of us have a fancy mobile phone, probably can film at like 4K. That's amazing pictures. And we've got, like Lisa's got one as well. So it's great. The audio sometimes isn't great on your mobile phone. So I did invest in, I think it was like a £25 lavalier microphone that plugs in as a cabled one. It's only $25. Maybe that's unfair to say only in front of that, but it's not a massive expense in terms of, I'm not having to go and spend like £1,000 on a camera and some fancy microphone and then win muffs and stuff. I've spent £25. So if I don't like doing the videos, if no one watches them, it's not a lot of money I've just thrown down the drain. And I haven't got a lot of fancy equipment. You know, I've used a tripod that I bought off eBay for like £5 to do it, because again, if it gets broken, if it gets wet, £5. It's not, you know, please don't put the barriers in front of yourself and say, I need to save up for the £1,000 camera before I can start YouTube, because I'm saving up for that, but I'm put that there when I get to a certain point in my YouTube journey. And, you know, that's where I want to invest in it until it becomes something that I really, really want. So I think you need to be mindful of that, because just hit record and upload and see what happens and you'll learn. And I think I always say this, like whether I'm doing public speaking, doing blogging or doing video content, the majority of people are going to be really receptive and really friendly to give you amazing advice on where you've potentially went wrong, you know, saying, you know, I can't read your screen, maybe you need to do a higher resolution next time or something like that, or your audio needs to be, you know, a little bit higher because I can't hear you. I've not had any massively negative comments about that's rubbish, take it down and stuff like that, thankfully. But I think the majority of your audience is going to be friendly and receptive to actually helping you go on that journey and learn how to be better. So please don't put silly barriers in front of yourself.
We've got enough mental barriers up here. You don't need to be adding, I need fancy, expensive equipment. It's like, I've actually had your microphone saved on my Amazon list for ages, because I was like, well, I could just use mine. I mean, I just invested in a new iPhone, so I have no excuse to do these updates. But like, so Cloud with Chris just said, people don't notice bad video as much as they notice bad audio. And when I started my podcast, I just used my my Jabra conference speaker. Now, I've done my first, I think, 10 episodes, maybe slightly more than that, with that audio. And I, at the time, didn't really realise that it wasn't as great. But people still tuned in. Like, people still loved it. I would agree, though, with Chris. Like, people, it needs to be nice to listen to. But I did my first 10 podcast episodes with a Jabra conference speaker and Zoom. And it was in doing that and getting them out the door that I then found like a theme that I wanted to do, more guests to come on board, people feeding back and saying that they liked it. So, and like Sarah said, like, go to your favorite blogger, YouTube, and Michael. In fact, go to Sarah and Michael's and scroll right back to their first vlogs and their first videos, and then you will see the journey that they've come on. And again, the big thing about this, and the thing that I definitely lack, is the consistency. So you guys look like you are both super consistent at it. Nope. But I've had some, I'm like, I did 20 episodes and then I was like burnt out, I need a break. So I went away and got a fancy package. Then the package was too fancy for me that I almost thought, who do I think I am? But then I honestly, I was like, I spent all this money on this package. And then I was like, who do I think I am? Like, I can't bring that to, but then I did. Yeah, absolutely. And then I did a whole other bunch of episodes, and then I've kind of stopped again, and I'm hoping to kick off again in June. But I would like to be a lot more consistent.
So where are you on that consistency journey, Michael? Because you were shaking your head there when Lisa said you were consistent.
So I got into, it might have even been January, February of this year, where I started doing the live stream. Maybe it was December, January, February, and I started consistently getting a live stream done it was Friday at 12:30. So I was thinking about like lunch and thinking about getting people in, and it was a lot of, as it always is on our streams, it's friends from the community. I recognize pretty much all the names that I'm seeing down in the comments. Like, it's awesome. And just that, let's all just meet up on Friday. Let's talk about something that maybe we haven't spoken about before. And then I got moved from that side of the business to a different part of the business. And I wanted to keep on running as fast as that, but that you can't do everything. And I think that's another important part, is that don't ruin yourself because you're trying to get everything achieved. And I just had to go, hang on, I need to learn what this Kubernetes and cloud native stuff is. And don't get me wrong, I'm not finished at all. And it's like, there's a long road ahead, but it's just about taking all the skills that I've got over here, bringing them over here. How do I then tell people that story, take people with me on that same journey, and hopefully that consistency will come back. I think it will. But it's about having the ability to learn, but then put that into like mini sessions. Like, we've all done public speaking breakout sessions when we were allowed in front of each other in the same room without a mask on. And I think that being able to, and it seems like everything you do, everything that we talk about is now a candidate for a session or for a YouTube video for that sort of thing. And I think like Lisa, probably everything that like from a guest point of view, you could speak to anyone about all of this stuff, and it'd be a really useful different perspective from loads of different people. And Sarah, the same for you. Like, you go into lots of different detail about different Microsoft products and solutions. There's no drought of content. Like, we can keep on going. So I think that's the consistency is you sometimes have to let go of the schedule to get back to it later on, let go of something else.
Absolutely. And I think once you start publishing videos, you'll start to get information back if you're using YouTube, and it'll tell you when your viewers are online and when they're most active. And I've started to use that to publish videos. So I'm now at the consistency stage, hopefully, where I get a video out on a Wednesday or a live stream like this. And then every Friday I do my weekly update video. And that's because the YouTube algorithms were telling me that my viewers were online on that Wednesday. That was the most active day. So that's why I picked that. And that's why I try and stick to that. I think I probably need to refresh the data and see if that's still the same, although then that'll knock off the cadence that I've set myself. So I don't know, but that's where I'm at. And I reuse content. So today, I can't remember if I said this when we were live or not, but I was building demos today for a presentation that I'm doing later on in the month. And I'm going to be using some of those videos because I'm using videos to present, because I don't want to do the live thing, because it's easy to switch between a presentation and your screen, your browser screen when you're in person, because you've probably got the equipment, or you've maybe got two machines depending on the conference you're talking to, and it's super easy and it's not stressful. But when it's virtual, it's like, oh, I need to pull this window from over here, and then you lose windows, and then it just becomes a complete disaster. So I like to video record my demos and put them into my presentation, which is probably a whole other live stream of talking about whether to do that or not. But those videos have no audio attached to them because I'll be speaking across that at the presentation. But those videos, I can then go back and use those videos and do short snippets and talk over them, do a small intro and outro on the video, and then upload them to my YouTube. And suddenly the whole day that I spent building a lab actually serves two purposes, not only the presentation, but I've got YouTube content. And I'll probably write a blog about some of the stuff that I've learned setting up the lab, because some of the things were just horrendous to set up. But that's that reusing that content and reusing that purpose. You know, if you filmed a video for a demo or even a customer demo or something like that, go and dig it out. Go and use that as your first thing and then talk over it, introduce it. You don't have to create net new all the time. It needs to be new to your maybe YouTube channel, but it doesn't need to be new to you. Go and look at your OneDrive, go and see what you've got, go and dig out that video and turn it into a YouTube video or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of how my consistency's been built. I'm reusing content, and I'm being more purposeful about creating that content and thinking about how I can reuse it. So yeah, that's my rambling, how I'm at.
Sarah, so actually two things there. One, I actually had the thought a long time ago, and it just come back to me about, because my episodes are so long and that doesn't work for everyone. Well, you actually wrote a really great blog on timestamps, so that's how I learned how to do timestamps on YouTube. But then also I could cut out snippets, you know, of just really great topics. So that is something I could potentially look into. But also, I was going to ask you, so you're saying at the beginning about you've learned how to become, or how to optimize your content to become discoverable on YouTube. So that's something I've really not looked into. I don't tend to look at my stats. I just really enjoy my conversations and I put them out there, and if someone else enjoys them, that's brilliant. But I do know that, like you've just said, when you get to the point where you are and you're starting to really content plan and repurpose and focus, etc., it's then you're putting a lot of effort into it. You want to make sure that you're doing it at the right time. So I wondered if you had like top tips on things that you should do when publishing to YouTube or check to help you become discoverable.
So I think this is something you've done as well, Michael, because I think you sat and went through the whole process that I've done where we learned how YouTube works, although I don't think you can ever learn how YouTube works because they don't tell you to a certain degree. It's all smoke and mirrors or watching other people's videos. And Chris is actually asking this in the comments as well. So I spent a big chunk of my time learning how YouTube works, how the algorithms work, how hashtags work, how tags work, how playlists work, how end screens work, how end cards work, the whole host of them, right? I don't think I'm necessarily the best person, but I've poured over the data to a probably obsessive point at some stages, wondering, constantly refreshing like 2 minutes after I put up a video, has it been viewed yet? Has it been liked yet? And yeah, you just kind of have to learn. So there are some things you have to go down. So think about tags, think about hashtags. That's now a new thing on YouTube. I actually use a thing called TubeBuddy. It's a plugin into your browser, or it can be a standalone. And there's a few products out there. There's a free tier, there's paid tiers, and it helps you try and make sure that you're following the best practices that it thinks makes a video discoverable. So having the tags, all those kind of things that I talked about, and making sure that you've got all the text there. And yeah, I just kind of learn through doing it. Like, why was that video? Because YouTube gives you a lot of data. If you love data, then YouTube's amazing for doing that. Trying to decipher what some of that data means is kind of the hard part. And I think everybody's going to be quite different. I'm not sure that's really answered your question. Michael, have you got anything? How have you done that?
I would say, so if anyone on the chat has asked this or thinking about this, is that I would liken the YouTube algorithm a little bit as a light SEO when it comes to writing your blogs. So search engine optimization. So you find out what the hot topic would be that you want to speak about, and then you factor those words into your blog all the way through, which for tech writers, that doesn't always fit because we want to actually just tell the truth. We're not marketing people. We want to tell the truth and we want to get the point across. So I get a load of red marks saying, oh, you're using this sort of language and you're doing this. Now move to YouTube and it's completely different because now it's kind of a light version of SEO. It's very much looking at the tags that Sarah mentioned. TubeBuddy, I also use TubeBuddy, not the paid for version, because it gives you enough functionality that I've found at least now, especially when if you're doing the same content or similar content over and over again. Like I'm doing a lot of Veeam stuff, and a lot of that's obviously talking about backup, or it's talking about Azure, or it's talking about public cloud backup or SaaS, Office 365. Those are common tags that seem to pop up for every video. So just being able to save them in like a tag profile, if you like, and then just use them continuously on each of your videos. That's a good way of then, if someone goes on to you, think about what you'd look for. If you were going to look for that video, the tag, it might be, oh, I'm looking for something around Office 365 backup. Okay, you search for Office 365 backup. The algorithm will point first to where videos have been tagged in that. And then people that have been, that the higher view rate will, or the people that have stayed there longer, they look at that. That's a real key indicator. Then you'll get up on the list. You'll move up the list. Then also, I think the beginning when I'm starting these YouTube videos, like the name, the title, that means so much. Like you can try and put your marketing head on, and you could try and come up with some really cool off the wall type title, some like pun or something. It won't work. It needs to be, what is it? And what is it going to show? Or what is it going to teach me? How is it going to fix? Why are we doing it? Be very descriptive in the title. And then a description as well goes a long way. And I'm sure Sarah's got some points on title and description. So
yeah, we probably could talk at a good length about this, and this is maybe another live stream we can do at some point. But things I've learned about YouTube. So YouTube doesn't want your viewers to leave YouTube. So, because they obviously get paid from advertising, so they want to keep you consumed within that platform. So again, like Michael was saying, if you can make your video relatable to other videos so that people just stay in that content loop of just, when the video ends, it just goes to the next one and the person is staying there. So at the end of the day, they're there forever. So think about that. If you're thinking about in terms of like SEO, Michael's absolutely right. YouTube definitely works in that SEO fashion. Think about your description. So if you mention something like, say, for example, I did a video on Azure Traffic Manager recently. I put that in the description. I put that in the title of the video. I have it also in my tags, and I might have a hashtag because then it's linked in several different places and it's appearing up. So if I put a title that says Azure Traffic Manager, and then my description talks about how I mountain climbed up a hill and I abseiled down it, doesn't mention Azure Traffic Manager at all, the video and the algorithm isn't going to pick that up. It's going to think, what the hell is this? And not know where to position it and who to position it to. So think about those kind of things. So yeah, I think that's some of my tips.
I feel like a YouTube noob because I don't think that I've used tags. Do you know what else? Do you know what? I know. And do you know what? I set up my new fancy WordPress site where you can get like my podcast and my YouTube videos. And do you know what? I don't even think I use tags in my posts.
Lisa,
okay. I know.
We're gonna have a session where we just go through all your stuff.
We're gonna need to have a chat offline. But to be honest, if you guys were to do a session on this, like again, I would be here as a viewer, learning all the tips. But yeah, because to be honest, that's never been at the forefront of my mind. I've wanted to do it from a personal perspective. So for instance, when I started the podcast, I wanted to connect with people. Yeah, I knew that, like, in case you haven't noticed, talking is my thing. So I wanted to just talk to people and then record that and share it. And I did it as much for me as like anything else. But I suppose if I am going to like commit to continue creating content, etc., I should look to, you want it to do well, and I should look to optimize it. But it's almost like, and I think that's a nice way to go into it as well, because you're doing it for the right reasons, and also you're not going to get too disheartened with the numbers, etc. at the beginning. Because I remember I didn't look at them at all, and then I started looking into them about like episode 10, and I was like, oh my god, I should not, and I got obsessive, and then I stopped again, and then I finished like 20 episodes, and then I took a break, and I came back, and I've been so good. It's weird, I can compartmentalize it and I just don't look, but actually I probably need to start getting in that mindset about how to like optimize that content.
Yeah, I think there's a fine balance between getting obsessed and using the data to help you. Sorry, Michael, I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say, and it's super interesting that you're doing it for yourself to achieve something, tick a box, whatever that was, and you didn't care about the numbers. I think that's super important, because like the story I told about the blogging, like I wasn't, that never was about, I don't know if I can, I'm definitely not a famous blogger by any means anyway, but it was never about that. It was about helping me first and foremost, but also if I can help this small community of people that I interact with every day on Twitter, if I can help someone, then it's worth doing. And I think, Lisa, you've got exactly the same mentality. And I think, Sarah, you do as well. It's just, whether it's we're further down the line or whatever that may be, like I've definitely learned something from this conversation about consistency from Sarah, from like just diving in and not being worried about certain things from you, Lisa. Yeah, I think there's a lot to take from it.
I know. We're kind of topping the hour now. What I want to make sure is we get the horror stories one, because I think you can learn a lot from this. Michael, I'm going to land you in it because you mentioned it on Twitter. So could you share your potato horror story, please?
So this week is KubeCon. So I've been trying to, keep up with everything whilst also scrambling around and trying to work out what these live demos look like. And remember that I'm just one page ahead normally. Normally I'm just a couple of words ahead. That's all. I'm not any further. Like, I'm just looking at this for the first time. Anyway, that's not part of the horror story, I don't think. Anyway, I haven't had that feedback yet. But so I'm recording a demo that I've just put on YouTube. I put it on yesterday. And when you do it through Camtasia, you can go directly to YouTube, or you can go directly out to MP4, like Sarah mentioned, and then you do it manually as an upload rather than doing it through Camtasia. Now, I like doing it through the MP4 because then when you're uploading, you use TubeBuddy to add in your tags, and you can add in the description. Now, if it's just a video that I need to get out really quick, then I go straight to YouTube. Now, this time, when you export to MP4, you've got lots of different options. Like, you can go make it better for phones, for consumption on phones, maybe 480p. Maybe we'll remember that little resolution, that really tiny resolution. When you caption it in maybe 1920 by 1200, you can imagine what that looks like. Well, it kind of looks like you're filming your screen through a potato, and I don't encourage that to anyone. And yeah, that's basically what I did. I think I must have seen the 420 as in the 20, or maybe the 480 or whatever it was, and I saw the 80 and was like, that's the right setting. So I put my bumpers on and everything. Thought, oh, that was a really good demo. I'd gone through it, put some text on there to highlight something, all of that good stuff. Uploaded, did all the description, everything. I've had 70 views on it in less than 24 hours. Thinking, oh, this is going well. My first Kubernetes focused video. And then I watched it today, just before I'm sending it out as part of a wrap up of day 2. And I'm so glad that I did watch it, because the demo that I'm showing is all command based. Well, you cannot read the commands. Like, it is literally unreadable. There's me yabbiting on, and you can't read it. So luckily, and this is another tip, make sure just save everything. Save everything you do, and maybe set something in your head about retention of, okay, we're going to have a bit of scratch media, and after that time, we'll get rid of it. But just save everything, because times like this, I can just go back, and although YouTube don't let you like rip and replace, I was able to just put up a new video. Yes, I'll lose that 70 views. Hopefully they'll come back and actually watch the video and they can actually see it. Although I might have found a different market. It might just be my voice they're after, and then we can start a different YouTube channel for that, right? Yeah, and I was able to just transfer everything over, and we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, that's my spud cam. Good one, Paul.
Lisa, have you got any horror stories?
I don't think I do, again, because apart from when I basically was like, oh yeah, I've got my intro and my outro videos and I'm going to go into DaVinci Resolve and I'm going to be cool and then export my videos and edit them and stuff. And I think I managed to do some basic editing and get like people's names in the plates and stuff. I was there for ages trying to layer up the plates and align everything. Like, honestly, I probably had a tantrum or two. Like, absolutely did. And I think I went to export it, and honestly, my laptop just was like, WTF is this? And I think it said something like, honestly, it was like, I think it first said like 2 hours to export. And I was like, I can just leave it for 2 hours. I came back, it was like 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours. I think it reached like 12 hours. And I think, honestly, my laptop just stopped working. And I was like, okay. And that's when I had to get in touch with just the art editor and basically say, so it's great that I've got this brand new package and all these. So I suppose that's a horror story. I basically spent all this money on a intro, outro, branding. It was all super fancy. Then could not use it because my machine did not support using it. So, but yeah, I think that's really the only major horror story I think I've got. I've pretty much recorded and not really edited. I think I've edited one episode, and it was because someone's doorbell rang, and I was kind of happy to just let it go. But we took it out, and I think that's it. I've got many videos of me trying to do like short videos, and I swear a lot because I can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can relate to that.
It's actually ridiculous as well because I don't tend to watch them back, but when you do and you see how dramatic you are, you're just a bit like, this is really not that big a deal.
I know. I think I've never had massive horror stories. I've had the wee ones, a bit like yourself, Michael, where I've exported it. And in Premiere Pro, if you have highlighted a section of the video and you hit export, what it does is just exports that highlighted part. So I've let things render. I've let it go up to YouTube. I've spent time putting in the title. And then I was going to do those chapter things, find the time marks. And I've realised that I've only cut out like 2 minutes of the video when it was a 13-minute video. So I'm a complete idiot and have to go back through and edit it or render it again. And like you're saying, Michael, thankfully I saved the project. So it was just a case of re-rendering it and not starting again. But yeah, I've not had some massive horror stories. I've had some, I'm going to have some interesting bloopers. So there is, I'm capturing those because people wanted the bloopers. There's no sweary words because I've taken them out because that's just not, I don't think that's the audience I'm maybe going for. Maybe I should start like a Patreon or something and make people pay for that if they want to hear me swear, although that's a completely different market, I suppose.
pay to hear Techie laugh and Lisa at the Edge swear. Tell you, that's how you pay for that expensive equipment.
Honestly, it's been so much fun. We are at the hour mark, and I want to be super respectful of everybody's time. Thank you to my guests, Lisa and Michael. Really appreciate it. It's been really good fun. Thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Hopefully we'll do more of this. I think we've got some fun ideas of new live streams that we can do, and hopefully we can rotate some guest rounds and have you guys back as well. But yeah, thank you everybody.
This is awesome, Sarah.
It's been good fun. But yeah, cheers everybody. Thank you so much. See you later.
See you later. Thanks for having me.